It's Friday, December 1st, 2023. Let's start off with our traditional shill segment where I will mention that you can go to patreon.com/Ozone Nightmare to contribute to the show using that platform if you so choose. If you have a preference for PayPal, and I know some people do, that's perfectly acceptable. You can go over to the show homepage and you will find a link there that has the PayPal icon. I believe it is the top block on the rounded square assortment on the right. That will take you to a PayPal donation page. You will find a book icon with a little bookmark on top. That will take you to Lando's Amazon author page. There is a skull that will take you to my link tree for artwork stuff if you are so inclined to check that stuff out. And there is also a link to our YouTube page at the bottom where you will find things like our gameplay videos, the John Carpenter videos, where there will be a new movie video coming. That will probably be very, very, very long, but that's going to be a little ways off. Dr. Doug Bielmeyer and I will be talking about the original Solaris and Stalker. So I expect that to be a 20-hour show.
Are you comparing them to the new ones?
Nope. We're just talking about the originals.
Okay.
Although I will probably watch the new one. The new Solaris, the recent. Yeah, but I only watched it once, and I don't think I watched it all the way through because I was bored. So I was like, yeah, I'll go watch the original. I don't think I ever finished it. I'm pretty sure I did.
Listen. It's not as good. It is not as good as the original because the original is a whole kind of movie experience. Yeah. But I do like the new one because I feel like the new one, I think someone was it Sotomayor? Is that who did it?
Soderbergh.
Steven Sotomayor.
Soderbergh. Sotomayor is the judge.
Yeah. I get the feeling that the director sat there and said, "I want to make a remake of this, but I don't want it to just be the same movie over again. I want to pull on a specific thread." And I think he leaned really heavily into the emotional thread of the wife, like just to the isolation of other things. You know what I mean?
I will say I don't think I gave it a fair shake when I watched it the first time. So I will go into it with more of a open mind this time.
Yeah, and the other thing too is I like a movie that doesn't claim to be better than the original, that doesn't seem to want to be better than the original, that is almost just like an homage to the original. You know?
Well, and also, just to be fair about it,
yeah.
Most people are not going to watch the Russian one. So if they get to experience the story in a way that they'll watch, then I don't care.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I took our friend Snedeker to see that in theaters. That was the funniest thing ever. Sweet. We walked out of the movies and he was like, "What the fuck did I just watch?"
Tell him watch the original.
You know, whereas I actually really like that movie because you don't get a lot of movies like that made anymore. You
know what? I should tell him to watch Stalker because I would be curious on his evaluation of the sound design because sound is such a prominent. I don't think he would like the movie. I think he would find the movie slow, but I think the music and the sound design, he would probably really appreciate it.
The music in the new Solaris has always been like it's effect. It's powerful. Like the way he used the music really specifically to kind of pull on an emotional response. So, like I said, I don't think I would never say it's better, but I enjoy it as a movie on its own.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'll watch it very evenly because, again, I would rather people experience it some way than not at all.
Yeah.
So whatever, accessibility matters for everything.
It's funny how you get older and like you start to have that response to things where you're like, when you're younger, you're like, well, this one's better. And then you get older, you're like, you know what? I'm just happy that anybody's experiencing any part of this.
Yeah, and it's also just,
yeah,
I'm a lot different in how I look at media and entertainment now, where I'm like, who am I to tell anybody that there's a right or a wrong version of anything?
Well,
I can just prefer what I prefer.
In the end, it's entertainment.
Right.
So.
And whatever gets you to it, gets you to it. And like I said, it's just like, we were watching, we're watching Fringe, and there was an episode where the characters were watching Casablanca, and one of the characters had seen it and the other one hadn't. And, I said to my wife, I said, have you ever seen Casablanca? And she said, no, have you? And I said, come on. Have I? Of course I have. I'm a film snob, and I'm watching movies from the 30s and 40s all the time. But, I realized that she'll never watch that movie. No matter how good I say it is, she just won't have any interest in it.
Okay.
It's fine.
Now, repeat after me.
Yeah.
Casablanca.
Casablanca. What did I say?
You said Casablanca.
Oh.
You said it like a very white man, which is what you are. I'm just trying to.
I'm not going to be able to. It's like trying to roll an R. I can't roll an R. I'm not going to say things right. So Casablanca. Casablanca. It's the Casablanca. Hey, the Casablanca. The Casket Blanket.
You know what? Does anyone? Now I can't remember how anyone says it in the movie. Do they say it like that? Or
I think they say Casablanca. I think. Hold on.
I'm curious.
It's a good question. Do they ever say the name of They must. Where? Okay. So this is 1942. Let me see. Hold on.
Yeah,
because the problem is, where do they say it in the movie? So, well, actually, I wonder if the trailer, because that's an old trailer. Maybe they say it in the trailer. Let me listen to the trailer. Hold on. I'm listening to it.
Casablanca. Yeah.
Okay. Hold on. Oh man, no! It's one of the silent ones. Oh, they say Casablanca. I just heard it. Here. Casablanca is what the guy said. Let me listen to it again. Hold on.
Like they say it very white, or say it like the
proper? Okay, don't forget. It's a Hollywood movie. Of course they said it white. Hold on a minute.
Very
I'm going to listen to it again.
Hold
on a minute. Let me just listen to this. And yeah, here we go. Hold on. I'm listening. Oh, he said Casablanca. That's how he said it.
That's not too bad. Casablanca.
Yeah, which is interesting because he said it like it was two words, yet the movie title is a single word. Which I assume is the correct word. Oh, really? Then the movie title is wrong.
Casa is house. Blanco is
right, but
white.
The movie puts them together.
Casa.
So.
Well, I know, but that's because they've turned it into a single title for the entity.
Well, listen to it's at 10 seconds.
And honestly, and it's a location, right?
Yes,
yes.
Well,
so because it's a location, it is the name of a place. You can make it kind of one word.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Yes, it is. It's a single name in Morocco, Casablanca, Morocco.
Oh,
Casket Blanket.
I always
Morocco.
forget. You're right. It's in Morocco. It's not.
It's not Spain.
Yeah. Well, no. Well, it is. It is named by Spanish people, but yes, it's.
No. I understand. I'm just saying it doesn't take place there.
The same way, there's a lot of places in southern Spain that have Moroccan names.
Of course.
So
there's a lot of places in California that have Spanish names. So.
So yes, I have a funny story to share with you. Something happened to me today that I didn't expect. Never seen this before. So, did I tell you the other night how I thought I was having a hallucination about Santa Claus?
Not on the show, but you told me.
Okay, yeah. So Joe and I were playing video games the other day, and I recently I went into one of the downtowns to get new glasses. And when I was going there, I was leaving in this underpass or this parking lot, and I was going through like an underpass through these buildings, and there was like this very sort of like it was like a tunnel through the building, and I saw Santa Claus standing there. And when you see something that's like slightly out of the ordinary, you have to, at least I do, I always stop for a moment and go, am I hallucinating?
Sure.
Right? I mean, it's always good to ask yourself that question. So you won't be blindsided. But then someone acknowledged that they saw Santa Claus, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. So, that's not just me freaking And this Santa Claus apparently was paid by this downtown, from what I can tell, to wander around the downtown just being Santa Claus-ish, right? I told you about this. So today, I went back to that downtown because I had to get my glasses adjusted. And I was there with my family. And we were walking down the street. And Santa Claus was kind of hovering around. I'd seen him already. And I noticed him across the street talking to some Christmas carolers, which I had first encountered them in the underground parking lot. My son and I were down in the parking lot. There's the two of us were down there, and we suddenly heard like angelic music, like harmonizing. And we realized that these Christmas carolers had just gotten in their car, and they were essentially like warming up in the garage. Man, that is some of the smoothest singing I've ever heard with those like anyway. I'm getting away from myself. So there is Santa Claus across the street talking, and the whole time he's very ho ho ho, how you doing? Hey, Christmas, yeah, ho ho ho, right? And so there's
Christmas, yeah.
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
Ozzy Osbourne dressed up as Santa. Christmas, yeah.
Yeah. No, very jolly, right? And
Sure.
a bunch of cars drive by, like near, and then one of the people stops to kind of let somebody out of their car. It's like a single lane road, right? At which point, the Tesla behind it just starts fucking laying on the horn. And Santa Claus looks over and goes, total switch in tone. Hey, where do you want him to go, you asshole? He's like, huh? He's like, chill out with the horn.
Hey, lay off the fucking horn, eh?
And I was just like, holy shit.
Christmas, yeah.
He just went Goodfellas, like all of a sudden. And then, like, a moment later, he looks back at the carrots. He's like, ho, 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 excuse me. He's like, sometimes Santa can get a little angry. And I was like, oh, man, that's so awesome.
I wish somebody recorded that. Ho, ho, ho. Peace and merriment, children. Hey, slow the fuck down.
Yeah, that's
ho, ho, what would you like?
That's exactly what it was. And my son goes, well, someone's not getting anything for Christmas this year. And I started laughing because I was like, man, what is worse in a day than to get fucking like told off by fucking Santa Claus of all people?
Yeah, sure.
You know, to have someone be like, you know, hey, what the fuck? And you look over and there's Santa Claus. Like, I mean, I've never had that happen before. And it's good to know that I'm still having unique life experiences. I adore that Santa Claus now. I really hope that that's like a regular, and here's the thing. I'm not really sure if the town does pay him, because afterwards my wife was like, you know what? I wonder if he's just like a guy that just like wanders the streets dressed up. I mean, he's not like a vagrant. He looks great, and then they obviously know him because I saw him talking to some of the shop owners about like, the antique quality of his costume. But yeah, it was very funny to watch Santa Claus fucking like, tell a Tesla driver that they were going to fuck him up. Like, where do you want him to go, huh? And like just a tonal shift. Oh, that was the best. Because like all this time, and like, I mean, like really, like there was no jolly. It literally went from like jolly old Saint Nick to like, what's the guy from Goodfellas? Gandolfini. It was like,
no, James Gandolfini was not in Goodfellas.
Not Goodfellas.
You're talking Sopranos.
Yeah, Sopranos. Yeah, to have him suddenly go Sopranos. That kind of that high pitch, angry Italian voice.
Uh-huh.
You're like, yay! Oh god, it's fucking awesome. So I wanted to share that with you. Thought you would enjoy that.
That's wonderful.
It's very Italian.
The true, Italian Christmas. That's great.
So, yes. Otherwise, only thing I wanted to talk to tonight about was that was very Yoda. Holy shit, that sentence just totally got away from me.
The only thing to talk to you I want to.
Yes.
Oh.
I finished watching the Wednesday series with my kids.
Yeah.
And man, I cannot believe that they utterly turned that world into Harry Potter. Like, it really astounds me, like how well it fits too. Because like
Sure.
I went and thought about the old movies, like not the old movies, but the Raul Julia movies.
The remakes. That's what you're talking about.
Well, yeah, because there's the original show, and then you have the Raul Julia
Well,
movies.
that's what I'm saying. So the movie,
Yeah.
the remakes, because they did make,
Yeah.
I believe, TV movies of the original
Oh,
series.
did they?
But I'm pretty sure. I think so.
I watched the series. I never, yeah, so I wouldn't remember.
Yeah, I mean, they
Either
would
way.
be very old.
Yeah,
see.
either
I
way,
thought
yeah.
they did.
So,
yes,
so
they
it-
did. Oh no, I'm sorry. No, my mistake. Short. Okay, they made a short film. Oh God, they made so. Jeez, really? Wow. Okay, yeah, they made a reunion show, and oh God, these look terrible. Yeah, so no, sorry, I was mixing up with the Munsters. Munsters, they made like a dozen movies with the original cast of the show. The old Herman
Yeah,
Munster, Fred Gwynn.
yeah.
So sorry, I was mixing it up. So they did make a TV movie, but no, you're talking about the '90s Barry Sonnenfeld, I think, is the director. Those.
Yeah, and it was funny. I very often my brain almost wants to think that they're Tim Burton movies, but
yeah,
I don't think.
it's completely understandable. I do that too. Once in a while, I go, oh wait, he didn't design these things. That's right.
No, because I don't think Tim Burton can have that kind of fun, and that's what is missing. Is the fun is missing from this show. There are funny moments. But Tim Burton also isn't 100% involved. Like, he directed some of them. I'm pretty sure he's one of the showrunners, but he's not the only person there. Probably because they were like, we don't want to trust Tim Burton with this completely.
Oh, gee, I wonder why not.
But it's weird because they really took the property and went in this other direction where they turned Wednesday Addams into essentially like a morbid goth Sherlock Holmes. Like, if you think of her in that respect, it makes more sense. Because otherwise, like, you couldn't have a character like Wednesday Addams grow up and not be like a total psychopath. Like, part of what makes their old Julia movies so fun is that none of these people can really exist. Like, they are absolute cartoon characters, right? That can exist in the context of their own fantasy, right? And that's what's so great about them. The fact that, Pugsley cannot die despite all the things his sister does. They are, immortal gothic clowns, right? Whereas the show took it in a different direction. It tried to find at once more reality, but then at the same time more fantasy. It's very strange, the directions that it kind of went, but essentially they wanted to build a kind of weird Harry Potter world. So in this world, it's like, instead of having the magic folk and the non-magic folk, they have the quote unquote outcasts and and then the normies, the normal people, and beyond that, it just becomes like Harry Potter, where she's in this academy for outcast kids, which has got all kinds of different classical monsters. You always got a bit of oh man, what was that other book series with the Olympians? Oh, what was it called?
Oh,
Percy Jackson.
Yeah.
There's a bit. There's also like a bit of Percy Jackson kind of thrown in here. They did their homework. I'll tell you that. But it's funny because you've got all these you've got Gorgons, you've got werewolves, and they wanted to find a show that was both fascinating for, I guess, some adults who like a mystery to watch, and for kids. And they kind of nailed it, because my father and mother-in-law watched this series on their own because it was a mystery series. My kids watched it now, and they fucking loved it. And like, I don't know if I ever would have watched this on my own, just because it's not necessarily my thing, but I did enjoy it, and I did find the way that they mixed elements to be really clever. And once I started thinking of her as like a young, a sociopathic young Sherlock Holmes, I started enjoying it more. Actually, what's funny is that it started to make me think of the young Sherlock Holmes movie. Where like you've got this young Sherlock Holmes who's a bit of an outcast and like, very, very somewhat sociopathic, but he makes a connection with somebody, and And there's a lot of darkness. I mean, and the young Sherlock Holmes has some really weird, like scary moments. I remember being a kid watching that, and when they start all having the hallucinations, how scary some of that shit was, and absurd too. The whole attacking food thing was hilarious. But yeah, I weirdly enjoyed it. I can see that most of their money went on the final episode because they keep like beating around the bush, and in the last episode you've got a monster based on Jekyll and Hyde fighting a werewolf. Now they're smart because they did it in the dark, in the woods, right? So they got away with they used kind of the graphical trick of keep it in the dark, guys, right? But they managed to shock and awe with their final episode, and then they had kind of this Watson moment, whereas Sherlock Holmes, his connection point is Watson. Watson is the person that makes Sherlock Holmes human, right? Would you agree?
Yes. Yeah, he's supposed to be the everyman or the window in for the audience type of thing.
Yeah.
The grounding element. Sure.
Yeah, and so I didn't realize what they were doing because I was kind of distracted with the male love interests in the show. But that the whole time, really, what they were setting up is this kind of Watson connection, which is that at the end of it all, the real connection in the show is between her and her roommate, who's a very bubbly, rainbow, colorful wearing, what's like a candy raver type. Who's also a werewolf, and so the connection between them is that there's this moment at the end of the show where they finally hug for the first time, and I thought, wow, I was like, that's a really well done emotional payoff, where she's been trying to get in get into to become Wednesday's friend, but Wednesday's a psychopath, and it's like trying to kind of make her give a shit about people, and I thought they actually wrote a pretty good payoff with the character. Enough so that I was like, you know what? Where do you go after this? Because essentially if you've got Sherlock Holmes and you've now got your Watson, who is Wednesday's Moriarty?
Well, I mean, unless they're going to do a version of what they did in the movies with the kind of Girl Scout, the pure American girl character, I guess. I don't know what else you do. I don't.
And the fact,
I don't know if in the original comics there was ever counterparts. I mean, I have them, but I haven't read them all.
There wasn't. But I'm kind of curious. Like, how do you do that? Do you make someone who's like her? Do you do the whole uber bubbly version? Like, that's what they did in the movies, and it worked. So I would say you have to do the uber bubble. You have to do the very, very popular normal girl, because that. I mean, you could do another Wednesday. The problem with that is then you're just repeating the theme. You know what I mean? Honestly, you have to have a really social character, because that's the problem. Wednesday is
not even a social. You have to have somebody who's in a normal
bubbly,
world to
charismatic, social person.
I mean, that was so that gives you the contrast, of the world of the Addams family and how weird they are. You have to have the normal side, whereas at the Academy it sounds like they're all weirdos, right?
They're all weirdos, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They all have powers. They're all and that was fascinating too. Like, that's why it's not just kind of a Sherlock idea, because they added all these other elements, which is that you've got these classic monsters, and you're dealing with all these people who have their own kinds of powers, and and she has a long way to go psychologically and emotionally before she can be considered like a functional person. Like right now, she's an insufferable teenager who doesn't want to rely on anybody and thinks she's the center of the universe and is willing to put anybody in danger for her own cause. And then by the end of the show, she's realized that she fucked up. She didn't get it right. She got played, and she needs help. And it's like I do like the arc. Like I did not expect to enjoy it quite as much as I did, because it's not something that I would have, like I said, sat down and watched. But having watched it, I did enjoy it, and I would watch another season to see what they do with it. My only worry is that
supposedly renewed, although that could change in 5 minutes. Change before we finish recording the show.
That's everything, isn't it? You know what? For a single season,
yes.
for a single season of a show, I thought it was really well. They did leave a little bit of a they restrain themselves from leaving a massive kicker, which is at the end of the show is like she realizes that there's somebody stalking her, but like that's not really that big. And the one of the monsters, one of the monster villains is caught, but they kind of leave this idea open that it may have escaped, but it doesn't but they don't hit you over the head with it. There's kind of a, hey, there's always the possibility of it. But this story has a conclusion. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it's over. It is a completed first season. They didn't just, drop the ball and go, we'll see what happens next season. Like, they actually said, let's write this like we might not get a second season. And in that respect, it becomes it becomes a very good sort of, it stays in the Addams Family canon. You can watch the original show, you can watch the Raul Julia movies, and then you could watch this. If you only ever had a season of this show, you can watch the season of this show and still be in that kind of realm of the Addams Family, which I enjoy.
I just like the fact that it has a conclusion. That makes me want to watch it now.
Yeah, it does. And like I said, there is a little bit like they do try to say, oh, she has a stalker, like right at the very end, but it is so minuscule. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not a plot point. It's nothing. It's just
it's a little thread that they could pick up or leave, and you don't care either way.
You know what it is? It's the end of the second Addams Family movie where the hand comes out of the thing and strangles the kid.
Yeah.
And Wednesday sits there and laughs, and you're kind of like, yeah, it could be anything. It doesn't matter. It's just the it's the funny stinger at the end. But otherwise, yeah, it has a conclusion. So I have to say, if you're looking for some light mystery entertainment, and you don't mind a kind of a Harry Potterish high school environment, you might enjoy it. Your wife might actually really enjoy this show.
No, we were interested in it. One of the things I wanted to wait and see was whether it had a conclusion or not. So
it does. It does have a conclusion, and they did spend their money well. The biggest problem for me is that Gwendolyn Christie will not be back for the next season. No. And she is majestic. The way they handle her in the show, where she's basically like she went to school. I love this. So her character is supposed to have gone to school with Morticia. And what's so funny is that Gwendolyn Christie is 10 years younger than what's her name, the actress that got to play Morticia this time around. Okay, she's 10 years younger than Catherine Zeta-Jones. So I thought that was amusing. But like she's all dressed in white. She's a shape changer, and she has a lot of good. She's got a lot of good scenes in this show, to the point of which that, well, we live in the land of spoilers here. That when they kill her at one point in the show, I was really bummed because I was like, wait a minute. I was like, no, Gwendolyn Christie. I was like, but she was just really starting to get really good. Like, they took her out right at that moment in the show where her and Wednesday are starting to like meet in the middle, but yeah, I thought she's fantastic in this. And she's so funny. She's one of those actresses. She kind of reminds me of, oh man, what's his name? Not Benicio del Toro. Is it Benicio del Toro?
Well, tell me a movie the person's in and I can tell you.
Who's the director? The director's Benicio del Toro, right?
No, Guillermo del Toro is the director. Benicio del Toro was the Wolfman.
Yes. Okay. So Benicio del Toro became an actor late in life. Like he was like already in like his late 30s, 40s when he got kind of big and started doing a lot of stuff.
I was going to say, so like, he's younger than that when he's in the James Bond film, but he's nobody then, yeah.
But he's nobody, yeah. But even in that, I think he was in his like mid to late 30s. Like there's no really young movies with him.
No, I think he's really young, but he's barely. I mean, he barely even talks. But I think he's pretty young in that one. I thought he was like 20.
Is he?
Well, I thought he was. Listen, all right. He was born in 1967, so in 1980, his first. Oh, he was in Big Top Pee Wee for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, he did.
But License to Kill was 1989, so that would make him 22. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So what was it? Yeah, he was. I saw an interview. I think he was talking about.
Usual Suspects was 1995. Now that was, I think, what really put him in front of people.
Yeah, and
he was at that point that would be 30. That'd be 28.
He was saying that because he didn't make it big when he was younger, because he didn't make it big until he got older.
No, all the movies before that, he's either in a very small part or they're not big movies. No.
It kind of changed the way he kind of handles movies, like where he doesn't, and we get a different amount of him because it's like he's, it's not a young actor who's been around like struggling. I mean, this is someone who's kind of come in and they're already kind of where they are at, and it's like Gwendolyn Christie. I get the same sense with like. We really didn't notice her until she was in. Yeah,
there it is. His career gained momentum in '95 with The Usual Suspects. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Because he was such a memorable character in that with his mumbling. Yeah, that was his whole thing.
Which
honestly isn't really even a role. I would say his big role was probably, Fear and Loathing. He's great in that. You see what God just did to us, man? God just did to us.
I love that. He's one of those actors that can go from being ridiculously silly to being absolutely frightening.
Oh yeah, and that's in that James Bond movie, he's terrifying.
Yeah, well,
because he's got this really serial killer thing happening. It's really good.
Yeah, watch him in like you said, the Las Vegas. Oh my God, my brain is like
Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Yeah, watch him in Fear and Loathing, and then watch him in Sicario. Like, have you seen Sicario?
No.
Oh, you should see that. It's worth seeing because it's the director that did the Blade Runner sequel that we love.
Yeah, Villeneuve.
Yeah, Villeneuve. Yeah, and his character is so, just so intense in that movie. Especially like when you get because the whole idea is that they're trying to fight the drug cartel, but what he's really after is he's after the guy that essentially killed his wife and kids. That's right. What his end goal is. And when he finally catches up with that guy, that scene is so intense. But his character is so like just so over the top in that. So I like actors that have that they're not always, I'm just always playing an intense badass motherfucker. You're like, no. Like, he was the fucking Wolfman in Pee-wee. Like Lawrence Fishburne's another one. He's like that, another Pee-wee alumni. He was the wizard. No, he was the mailman.
No, the mailman. Postman. Yeah. What was it? Or no. Was he the postman?
He was the cowboy.
No, was the cowboy. No, wasn't cowboy somebody? Was he cowboy or was he?
He was the cowboy. Hold on.
I don't remember. No, I think you're. It's 50-50 because I can't remember. Because the cowboy guy went on to be somebody too, so I'm mixing them up. Let's see.
Yeah, he was the cowboy. God, look at these images.
Yeah. Cowboy Bill? Is that what his name was? Or was it something else?
Oh, man.
I don't remember what. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. But you know what? If you don't know that, if you've never seen Lawrence Fishburne in Pee-wee's Playhouse, go watch him in Pee-wee's Playhouse. He is he's very young and he's
Cowboy
very
Curtis. That was the name.
Cowboy Curtis. There you go.
Yeah.
But yes, Gwendolyn Christie didn't pop up till Game of Thrones, and that's what got her kind of big. And then since then, she's had kind of this interesting arc of movies because she did a Terry Gilliam movie where she was briefly in that. She's done Star Wars where you never saw her face. She was Lucifer in Sandman where she was an excellent Lucifer. And it's just like it's an interesting arc of roles. And now she's done the Headmaster in Wednesday, and it's not a lot of roles, but they're really like interesting picks. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I always look forward to see what she might be coming up in next. And maybe that's why she doesn't want to stay and do another season of the show.
Probably.
She's because she's like I have other things I want to try. So. But yes, I wanted to mention that to you. I think that you and your wife would probably enjoy this. Like I said, some light mystery entertainment.
Well, based on the fact that it has an ending, I'm willing to watch it. That was my big thing with that.
Yeah, I think when I saw it conclude the way it did, I thought he can actually watch this now.
Yeah, no, that's good.
It's not like Strange New World season 2 where they're like, oh my God, everything's happening in the world.
Well, and that's okay because I know there will be a third season. With Netflix, I have no such assurance. That's the biggest issue with a lot of these streaming things is until I know that it's either got a conclusion or a full run, not a second. I want to know that the story concludes. Otherwise, I don't want another Odyssey 5. You know, that's my trigger warning. Odyssey 5. It's like, oh no, they didn't end it. Or worse, they ended it on a humongous cliffhanger, which is worse. You know?
Oh Jesus, she did. They recorded Gwendolyn Christie doing a Midsummer Night's Dream.
Yeah.
Oh man, I got to see that. She plays
Sure.
She plays Hip. I can never pronounce this.
Hippolyta.
Hippolyta. Yeah, Hippolyta.
Yeah. Amazing. I can do Hippolyta, but not Casket Blanket.
Yes, I am. I'm curious to see this performance.
I'm sure it's great. She's very good.
I'm not a theater nerd, but I do love my Shakespeare.
No.
So anyway, that's all I've got for you sitting here in the dark.
Yeah, Lando is in the middle of a power outage, so our show will probably be a little shorter than usual, just to make sure that nothing else goes awry.
which started the second we were going to record.
Well, it was timed very well because we started later than planned, which was due to me running late, and then I was testing something, which was the transcription. Oh, I should mention that if anybody, I'm using. By the way, it is according to. I noticed a little bit of glitchiness on my end. Nothing that would affect the show, but I happened to look, and Audio Hijack is currently using between 118 and 700% of the CPU, which I'm pretty sure must be the transcription feature, which I just tested. Yeah, it's at 814 currently of CPU, which seems theoretically impossible, and yet there it is. But anyway, I'm using the transcribe feature that Audio Hijack recently added. So if anybody needs a transcription for any reason, I'm going to start, keeping them, because those will be very small to store. I don't know why anybody would, but on the off chance, as I was telling Lando, I try to think with accessibility in mind. And it's certainly not like I think I'm the easiest person to understand, depending on what I'm saying. So if anybody needs a transcript for some reason, I am happy to provide it. I don't know that anybody ever will, but the feature appears to work. I tested it, and it actually, I didn't tell you this because you were busy setting things up. My wife was saying something to me off to the side of the mic, and it captured her. It heard her, even. So it's really good. Probably because I'm using the high-quality model, which is probably why my CPU is currently at 814.9% of CPU. Oh, it dropped to 450. Why? Okay, we're good.
Why it's having
what it's doing is it's real-time transcribing speech from 3 different outlets or inputs, really, or intakes. So I'm sure that is taxing the CPU more than I've probably ever taxed this thing. Oh yeah, it's pretty warm. I can feel the machine. That's okay. Listen, if the machine couldn't handle it, we would have known by now. Something would have happened.
Oh yeah, they would have crapped out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on power. I wouldn't be doing this if I was on battery. Let's put it that way. I can only imagine how much power this thing is sucking doing this if I had it not plugged in. Using significant energy. The only item, Audio Hijack. No shot. Anyway, so just something in case people care that I am capturing transcripts on the off chance anybody ever needs them, or actually if I ever need them, because sometimes I will want to go back and find something if I thought of something later, and it'll be a lot easier then. I wish every podcast did it because
I told Joe that we're just gonna transcribe all. What did you say? 800? How many episodes are there? 800.
Yeah, we're not gonna do that. But
we're gonna transcribe them all and just put them out as a whole volumes of texts.
God, could you? Actually, I probably could. You know what? It would be interesting to do almost a William S. Burroughs thing where I feed them all into a machine and then say, because you can do this with these things.
Build a show.
Say write a book using the Burroughs cut and paste style using the imported text.
Oh my God.
You know what? I will do it. Why not? I don't care. I don't know what the hell it would be, but I'll do it.
Build a philosophy based on all this text.
Well, I don't know if we want to do that, but actually, you know what? I won't do that because our early shows, a lot of those are just topic based. A lot of those are, but maybe I will take maybe I'll take shows 700 through 800 and I'll feed those into it and see what it comes up with. I would actually be curious. Write a novel based on the imported text in the style of William S. Burroughs and see what it comes out with. Because I won't feel bad about that.
Oh, because you're just doing it for your own enjoyment.
Well, yeah. Because he used a cut and paste style, so it wouldn't be applying his writing style, it would be applying his method of chopping his stuff up, with
Got
our content. Therefore, there's no real theft involved. It's just copying a style. And I'm not going to, I don't think I would ever sell it. But even if I did, that style isn't copyrighted. That's not, I don't know. I'll see what it does. I'd be curious what it came up with. I mean, it would be fucking bonkers. So just for that reason, why not? But you know what? Screw it. Because isn't Amazon publishing free? There's no cost to that, right?
No, I don't think so. To put stuff up.
If you know what, I'll do it. I'll do it. Screw it. I don't care. And it'll be like a crazy thing that somebody can buy. That's fine. So
I'll do it. You'll see. You'll see. Yeah. I'll do it.
No, I'm just saying, because at first I thought it was stupid. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, well, there's no cost to it, and it might come out with something that is completely unhinged. So why not? I like that kind of stuff. I mean, Anyway, so I do have a movie review for tonight. Now, this is an interesting one, because I after Thanksgiving, I was thinking about it. I said, I want to do something. I want to watch something from the kind of the middle point of a big change in the way that horror movies were done, which is basically the 80s into the 90s. You look at horror movies from the 80s and then you look at them in the 90s, you can tell there's a big shift that happens. There are a lot of things that changed. And they changed even more going from the 90s into the 2000s. So it'd be kind of interesting to watch something from the year 2000. But I decided to watch something from 1990. So I looked through my library and I found a movie called Mirror Mirror. Now it's important to look up Mirror Mirror from 1990.
Yeah, because there's that other one they did.
Comedy or something, yeah.
Yeah.
So
what year is it?
1990. 1990. So dead center between the two decades. And I did not anticipate that what I would actually end up watching
It's an interesting cast.
Well, putting the cast aside, if you watch the trailer,
yeah,
the woman in this, who apparently only did a few movies, then went behind the camera for a while and then quit the industry entirely. I don't think for any bad reason. I think she just lost interest. Her name's Rainbow Harvest. She looks at times like a dead ringer for Winona Ryder. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
okay.
yeah. Absolutely.
And I don't know if that's an accident because...
Yeah, there's a few shots here that look like a deep fake.
Okay. This movie feels like somebody watched Beetlejuice, got to the end of it and went, that's a good movie, but what if they did it seriously? What if we did a serious horror movie about Lydia in high school? And that's what this movie is. When you look at this character in the beginning of the movie, it looks like a character cosplaying as Lydia.
It does quite a bit, yeah.
Right? Okay. So
does she sound like Winona Ryder as well?
Kind of. I mean, she not with the dramatic kind of I am utterly alone. Not like that, but what you would assume that Lydia sounds like when she talks to normal people, in a normal day, like average people.
Yeah, I would suggest anybody listening, if you have access, watch the trailer.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Because
terrible trailer, but you will see the shots.
Yeah, but you'll see the shots, and it is like...
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's weird, yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, because it's basically her and her mother moved to a new house that's supposedly haunted, and the father died. I believe he committed suicide. Let me check that. I don't remember. But I almost looked at it as a parallel film to Beetlejuice. I mean, it really feels like that. Like somebody was like, okay, I want to take the goofier and comedy elements out, and I just want to do this as a straightforward horror film. And so when she gets to the house, instead of it being a undead exorcist, it's instead a mirror with a demon in it.
Let's be clear. Beetlejuice itself is only funny because they kind of they make the implication that it's all going to be okay. But like that movie could very easily just be like straight horror. Well, like this, if you just pulled out.
But it isn't. It never feels that scary. It always feels.
Even though Beetlejuice himself
can
be kind of fucking scary.
Yeah, I mean, when he appears as the snake, that's probably the only really scary element.
Yeah.
And that's because he drops the dad down 2 flights onto his back, and then he's like scary but that's it. The rest of it isn't really scary. It's more bizarre, strange, odd. And again, it never feels like anybody's in any real danger because Beetlejuice himself is a buffoon most of the time. So no, that's what I'm saying. It's not a straight comedy, straight horror film. Neither is a straight comedy, but you never really feel like there's a horror element. You just feel like there are sinister elements inside of it. This feels like, no, we're trying to do a scary horror film. So movie opens up. It's the 1950s, and you, in this same house, this house that's supposedly haunted later in the film, you see two women burst into a room, and one stabs the other to death in front of this mirror. And it's not really explained, but then, the mirror kind of makes these noises, and she's looking at it, and then it cuts to for the time, the modern day. And moving into the same house is a mother and daughter, and the daughter is Lydia Dietz in all but name. Very, very goth, even though the kids in the LA school call her punk, which I guess maybe what Valley kids would consider punk, but very clearly she's a goth kid.
Goth punk, yeah.
Yeah, but she looks like, the first scenes of her, she looks like Boy George. I mean, she really does. It's maximum goth. What's interesting is, as the movie goes on, that becomes more muted as she becomes more powerful, which is interesting. But at first, she's extremely goth, comes in, and this is basically a teenager in high school hell film. And so she comes in, and most of the kids are making fun of her because they're LA Valley kids, and, they're typical Southern California types, and they're just endlessly merciless towards her. And she makes one friend who's this very nice girl named Nikki, and even Nikki's boyfriend doesn't really like her. He tolerates her for a large part of the movie, but he even thinks she's odd. And so they're bullying her, and they're playing pranks on her, and all the the typical stuff you would expect. And there's a point where the mirror starts to do things for her. But before I get to that, this clip really has nothing to do with the plot whatsoever. But there's a part where they're doing sculpture as part of an art class or whatever, and one of the most accurate comments about sculpture is made by the Nikki character. So I'll play this little clip because this is always how I viewed sculpture as far as how I could do it.
You're really good. Thanks. Come on, get over there. Come on. Sit down. Where to start? Just move it around, Try and play with it a little bit. Pretty soon it's gonna start to look like something. And then after that, you tell people that's what you were going for in the first place.
Yes, that was my approach to sculpture. Whatever the hell it looks like, say that was always the plan. So, yeah, that's the only reason I played that clip, because I thought that was funny, because that was always kind of the way that I covered things up.
She kind of sounds like another writer as well.
She does. Now that I heard it, I'm like, yeah, she actually kind of sounds like it too. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Kind of sounds like she sounds like her more from Heathers.
That's exactly what my wife said. My wife said she looks like a blending of the two movies. And
yeah, when did Heathers come out?
Geez, I want to say 88. I could be wrong about that. Let's see, Heathers.
Well, let's see. Heathers 1989, right? So then when did Beetlejuice come out?
That was 84, or no, 5. I think it was. Could be wrong. Could be 6.
So they very easily could have seen those movies.
Oh, I'm sorry, 88, a year before. Okay, a little later than I thought. I really am curious. I couldn't find anything about how this movie came about before we recorded, so I apologize. But I wonder if it was something where that was kind of the initial idea, which isn't bad. I really like this as a parallel film. It makes a lot of sense because it is many of the same elements, but we never saw Lydia in a normal setting. We only ever saw her in the house. Everything is basically centered on the house for the most part. So, and then the afterlife, or the spirit world, whatever.
And you're not the first person to make this too. I'm reading a review here that basically the person said the same thing. It's like, why does the main character from this movie remind me of Winona Ryder from Beetlejuice? Yeah.
And maybe originally the character wasn't as much like this as possible, and somebody said, well, I don't know. It's not. I think it makes it more interesting. It made the movie better for me.
A lot of people feel the same way. She is a slightly older Lydia Dietz. Yeah, I mean, it just feels like it. It would be great if the director basically said, like, "Oh, I watched these movies and they were an influence." But I mean, those other movies were in the kind of mental space. They were already out there. So
right, yeah. So, like I said, because we never saw that aspect in Beetlejuice, we never see Lydia's life outside of what's going on. So there's a whole open space there where you could easily, if you were to retitle the character, it really wouldn't be all that off. And like I said, they've just substituted, instead of Beetlejuice, it's a demon in a mirror. But, it does, because in the film, she flirts with the idea of letting him do things for her, kill, all that's, there's a lot of similar beats to the film. Even in that, in the beginning of this, when the mirror starts doing things for Megan to help her, that's the name of the character, she doesn't really know what's going on, but she senses something, but she's kind of ignorant to what's happening, which is what this clip basically explains. So this is right after, let's see, what happens. The first thing that, I mean, the mirror kills a dog, which didn't bother me at all because it's such a non-scene of the dog getting killed, and it's such a fake dog, it doesn't matter. But you don't see what happens there. For some reason, the mirror just doesn't like dogs, I guess. And it's afraid of dogs because when a dog starts barking at it, it kind of regresses. It's really strange. So I don't know if that was a plot element or if they just thought it was something to do. It makes no sense. But anyway, there's a point where one of the characters is making fun of her and she's kind of looking at her and she's angry. And the mirror starts bleeding and then the girl gets this nosebleed that won't stop it. It's just fountaining blood. And then, you know, afterwards, she's talking to Nikki and her boyfriend about it and the fact that she feels like there's something going on. And I'll play that clip.
Ghosts do not exist. And nosebleeds happen every day. Charlene is going to be fine, unfortunately.
I felt something. Like I or someone or something was controlling it, making it happen.
I felt something too. Like projectile vomiting. I was trying to eat my lunch.
That's not what I meant.
No, you know, I believe you though, Megan, I do. Why don't we try it out? Why don't you try to make something happen right now? Like turning yourself into a normal person. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
Ron!
I feel like I'm getting chicken pox. I'm out of here.
I'll be right back.
I told you, she is whacked. She thinks that she's like a lead in a horror flick or something.
Say
it's
goodbye.
A joke. Bye, Megan. You call me when she leaves, okay? I'll come right back. Okay?
Mwah.
I'll come right back if you call me.
Bye.
He thinks I'm crazy.
I think you're crazy.
I just felt like I could have stopped it if I wanted to.
Megan, stop. Look, dreams are not reality. You're thinking about this too much.
Right, so basically everybody else is telling her, no, there's nothing going on, it's just a rumor about your house, you know, you're not involved with this stuff, the rest of it, but these things keep happening. There's a new guy who's played by William Sanderson, who people would know from Blade Runner. They're my friends, I made them. He comes by and he's kind of courting the mother, and Megan feels like that's a little bit fast, so when they're having dinner, he looks down and his food has maggots in it, and then he gets scared, and that's to scare him
Maggots,
off.
Michael, you're eating maggots.
Right, it's the same type of thing. So, you know, as things keep going on, she more and more believes that the mirror is involved. And the mirror's starting to kind of talk to her a little bit. Like, she looks at it, and she's hearing voices and stuff like that. And after a while, she starts to think, okay, can I make the mirror work for me? So that girl who had the nosebleed is running for school president against her friend Nikki, the one who said, no, don't worry about it, it's not real. And, you know, she's alpha, mean girl type, where it's very clear she's going to win, and she's being very everybody, but she's very popular. And so she tries to figure out a way to throw the election. And the way that she found out is they're all playing water polo, and she starts pulling her under the water, or wishing her to be pulled under the water. And so the girl blames her friend, not her friend, for doing it, thinks even though it makes no sense that girl was anywhere near her, but whatever, she thinks it's something to kind of throw the election or whatever. And the teacher says, go to the showers, and I'm going to hold you after class, whatever. And the girl gets very pissed off and goes off. And when she goes into the showers all burst steam, and they burn her horribly. And so right after that happens, Megan kind of goes up to her friend and says, see, I helped you out. And we get this little scene where the friend is like, what are you talking about? So let me play this.
Congratulations, Miss Preston. Didn't I tell you it was going to work out?
How can you talk like that after what just happened, Megan?
Don't tell me you're worried about Charlene.
Cut it out.
You deserve to win anyway.
Yeah, well, Megan, it doesn't work that way.
I told you I'd help you, and I did.
Are you trying to say that you had something to do with this?
I'm not saying that.
Well, what are you saying, Megan?
Well, let's just say that you and me are innocent. Hey, you should be thanking me, you know.
Thanking you? Thanking you? You are a fucking nut.
Right. So you can already see where this is starting to go. Oh, you should be thanking me. I helped you. And of course, the girl reacts like, why would... Because this girl is horribly burned. It's a whole long scene where you see her and she's all burned up. I don't think she dies and survives. Oh, no, apparently, from what I'm reading here, she does die. So, you know, in any event, so you can see the normal response is, how are you talking about an election and how were you involved in this? And, you know, whereas Megan is thinking, well, I did you a favor and this is how you're reacting to me. So what happens is Nikki stops talking to Megan. She starts dodging her, not answering calls, whatever. And of course, Megan becomes not so happy about this. And at one point, she finally manages to corner her in the bathroom, the girls' bathroom. And we get a scene where she's basically, well, she is threatening her and she starts to kind of psychically attack her. And we get this scene where she's basically like, all right, you can be my friend or else.
What are you doing? Come on, stop hiding from me. I don't like it. There you are. Come on, let's go do something.
Look, maybe some other time, Megan.
Nikki, you've been avoiding me all day. Why?
Just leave me alone, okay?
Nikki, I'm in control of it now.
I don't want to hear this, Megan.
No, Nikki, really. Listen.
No.
Listen. No. Nikki. I can control it now.
Megan, what's happening?
See? Control. I can stop it.
You know,
Or I can start it.
well, I don't know if this sounds like what it's supposed to sound like.
Yeah, I don't know. She's making her like have
The
stomach pain.
rumors are true.
I'm aware.
There is something haunting the Weather house. Only it's not a ghost. It gave me powers. And those powers can be for you too, Nikki. If you want it. Nikki, that's why, Charlene. I did it for you. And Jeff, I just got careless and that was stupid of me.
Jeff? You know where he is?
He's dead.
Nikki, you're my best friend. I need to know that you're with me and not against me. Come on, let's go do something.
I really gotta go.
Tomorrow then.
Yeah, the clip may be misleading, but that's essentially she's making her double over in pain. So,
I know, but when you just hear the sound effects,
Yeah. It's not
The
not
scene.
necessarily clear without the visuals.
it's a weird translation of events. Yes.
Yeah. So what she was talking about with the guy Jeff was Charlene's boyfriend Jeff dances with her at a party, and so she thinks, oh well, maybe he's into me. So she psychically has the mirror will him to fall in love with her. So basically, he shows up at her house and they're making out, and she's ready to just sleep with him instantly. But he's like, wait, no, there's something's wrong. Like I don't feel right. Like he's aware that he doesn't necessarily know what she's doing, but he knows that it doesn't seem right what's happening.
Something's affecting him.
Exactly. And so when he resists it, she basically tells the mirror, hey, kill him. She doesn't say, hey, kill him. She says, he can't do that, can he? At which point the mirror demon arms come out, grab him, kill him. And then it's knocking on the door and she's like, get rid of him. And the mirror pulls him into it and basically he's gone. He's now vanished. He's dead. And so that's when she says, you know where Jeff is. Nobody knows because he just vanishes because he's in the mirror. And so then she does the thing on Nikki. And at this point, Nikki now starts to think to herself, okay, there is something to this house. I thought this was all nonsense, but I know what's going on. There's been weird stuff happening at the school. She just did this to me in the bathroom. So I need to find out what's going on with this. And throughout the movie, because the movie starts off when it goes to the modern day after the two women, the one gets stabbed, the woman who's in charge of the estate, which again is sort of a parallel to Beetlejuice, is that woman who shows up and gives them the key to the house and, arranged for the house to be sold. There's an equivalent person in this. And she was responsible for getting all the stuff out of the house and accidentally left the mirror behind. But since she has everything else and she has storage, she's kind of looking through it and she sees these books on the occult and this diary, and she's starting to read it, and she's seeing all these things about the mirror. She at one point shows up to the house and says, "Oh, I forgot to take the mirror. I'm going to take it." And Megan basically says, "No, go away," because at this point now the mirror is helping her out. So she knows there's something going on with the mirror, and she suspects that Megan is using it. So the friend goes to her and says, "I think there is something going on at this house, because these things are happening," at which point the woman basically explains to her the backstory for what the mirror is and what's going on. So, to us, the audience, and this is towards the end of the film, but this is where we get the explanation, because that thing in the beginning with the mirror and the two women, we don't really get an explanation of what that is. We don't really get any dialogue much at all. We see pictures of the two women together, but they could be friends, they could be related, we really don't know. And then, of course, the mirror does something, but we don't know why she stabbed the other one. Was she possessed? Was she, hated her? Was it something like a rival? We don't know anything. And so now we get all the explanation of what happened in the beginning and what's going on with the mirror.
It was Elizabeth who brought up the demon and opened the gate. Once she used its power, the mirror controlled her. Mary killed her sister because she thought that would stop it.
Look, I'm calling the police.
No, that won't do any good. And if what you just told me is true, it could get us both killed.
How do I stop her?
It's not your friend we have to stop. The mirror is using her. She doesn't know what she's unleashed. We have to try to make her understand the dangers and help us. We have to close the opening. I think I know how. Here, take this. Oh, don't worry. It's not for your friend. It's for whatever is in that mirror. Now, be careful. It'll try to trick you. And it can read your thoughts. And remember, don't ask it for anything.
So what she hands her is, as far as I can, just a normal knife. So why she didn't just say, "Bring a knife," and what that would do against a demon is never explained.
Maybe it's a special knife.
It's not. We at one point see it, and it appears to be just a regular kitchen or steak knife. But whatever, that's fine. I thought that too. I thought we were going to get some explanation. We never do. So Nikki leaves. She basically meet me at the house. I need to call a priest to meet us there, I guess, for an exorcism type of thing or whatever. And Nikki says, "Okay, I'm going to get my boyfriend," and so we have some muscle backup, I guess. So she leaves, and the woman goes to call the priest and immediately is killed by an exploding mirror because the mirror knew what she was doing, which you would think they would have just killed them both, but apparently it waits just to kill her. And so the girl Nikki goes to her house where she had told her boyfriend to meet her, and finds that he has been killed by a phantom double of her that drowned him in her tub and ate most of his face off, because she turns around and sees herself as this evil version that then disappears. So the mirror is now just doing full-blown shit all over town. It's just gone crazy. Now, I should note, we have yet to see anything of this demon through the whole movie except for two hands that are kind of, they kind of almost look like werewolf hands, a little bit of hair and nails and dark skin, whatever. But we really have seen nothing of this demon so far. We're now in the last 10 minutes or so. So Nikki goes to the house where she finds, and as all this has been going on, we cut back to the house at points, and the mirror has now locked Megan in the room and is killing her mother by having her stick her hand down a garbage disposal, which I have to say, at first when I was watching this, okay, yeah, I guess you could bleed to death, but that's not going to happen instantly, which is what I thought happened. But in fairness to the movie, she doesn't die right away. It takes a while before she bleeds out. So I will give the movie credit that, you shred your entire arm up to about midway, you are going to bleed to death if you don't get something done with it. So it does make sense she would bleed out, but it doesn't happen as soon as, because a lot of movies like this, the arm will get shredded and she'll just drop dead. And it's like, no, that's not how it would happen. You would bleed for a little bit. So the movie keeps her alive long enough to basically die in front of Nikki when she shows up, which is probably longer than it would actually take, but I still give it credit for not making instant.
So why hasn't it get her out yet?
What's that?
Why hasn't it taken Nikki out yet?
Well, okay, so Nikki gets there. I don't know. That's what I'm saying is the mirror seems somewhat
Winona
omnipotent.
Ryder protecting her on a subconscious level?
Very possible. It would make sense because point, she doesn't know that Nikki is working against her. The mirror does. But the fact that she killed her mother when she's screaming, "Don't kill my mother," let's put it this way. The logic is a little fluid. We'll just say it that way. And that's fine. I'm okay with these small. There's enough wiggle room there that I don't really care. So Nikki shows up. She goes up. She manages to burst into the room, at which point the whole house turns into a tornado. Shit's flying everywhere. The mirror is growling and yelling, and they can't get out, even though I would think they just jump through the windows, but apparently they can't. Maybe the wind is keeping them in. So everything's blowing up, whatever. They go, they get separated, and Megan runs up into the room, and Nikki is trying to get into the room, bursts into the room, and finds Megan dead in front of the mirror. That she has stabbed herself in the chest to stop whatever was going on. And as soon as she does that, everything stops. So all the wind goes away, and suddenly everything goes back to normal. The mirror is just sitting there, and Megan is dead, having killed herself. Because at first I wasn't sure. I thought she was going to jump into the mirror and disappear or whatever, but she kills herself, which appears to stop the mirror, I guess, because it's bonded to her. Again, not really explained.
Well, I get the sense that she was the anchor that was letting it pull itself out.
Yeah, something like that. Like I said, all fine. It's fine. I'm not worried about it. So Nikki basically sees that everybody's dead, and she starts crying and breaks down, and she says, "I wish everything went back to the way it was before." Which, of course, is the big mistake, because the woman had said, don't ask it for anything. And the fact that, I guess it's like a genie or whatever, where the minute you ask it for something, now it's got you. So then everything vanishes, and we then see that it's now back in the 1950s, but instead of the two women from the beginning, it's now Nikki and Megan, and Nikki has stabbed Megan to death. And she looks around, and she doesn't know where she is, and the mirror just kind of laughs at her, and then the movie ends. So it's like a time loop thing. And, we do see the demon for 1 second, and he essentially looks like a guy in a demon mask with really long hair. A perfectly fine effect. Why they didn't use it more, I don't know, because it looked like a pretty good mask. But we see the demon for maybe 20 seconds total. And then it goes back into the mirror, and then, like I said, it's the time loop.
Dude, wait, is that the melty face thing?
No, that's Megan's father. She has what she thinks is a bad dream. Well, I guess it is a bad dream. She has a dream of her father coming back all rotted like he was in the grave.
Okay.
And that's the first indication that the mirror
because that looked like the leprechaun.
No, that's her dad. That seemingly doesn't do much, except she starts having nightmares, and I guess that's supposed to be the mirror's evil influence, is making her have bad dreams. But it doesn't really turn into anything. I think it's just a way to do a jump scare in the beginning of the movie, more than anything. Or maybe that's why people are attributing some of her mood swings and stuff to just the fact that she's not over her dad dying. I guess that could be it. Because she never asked for her father to come back or anything like that, because that would make sense. That once she realizes she has these powers, I want to speak to my father. I miss my dad. And the dad appears, and then he starts to rot. Or something, but that never happens. It's just a one bad dream. So that one, I think that was just to have a visual effect and do a nightmare jump scare thing, and that's it. But yeah, then it ends with the time loop, and it cuts to black. And then they made 3 sequels to this movie. There's a part 2, 3, and 4.
Really?
Yes, apparently it did fairly well. It's actually got pretty good reviews in terms of the critical reception is mixed to positive. The reviews I read were kind of either great or terrible. And that's what made me interested in it, because the cover art is actually pretty bad. I would not have watched this based on the cover art. It's pretty boring. But I looked at the reviews and I went, oh, that's interesting, that these are kind of love it or hate it in a lot of ways. Either people get it or they don't. But the critical reviews are actually generally okay to good. There's some that are bad, but it's not terrible the way you might think for a movie of this type, because it's a lower budget film, and it's from 1990, and it's got a lot of people. There's only 2 names in it that I recognize.
Well, that's why you don't see the demon till the end, because they knew what they could get away with.
Yeah, I guess that's it. So I don't know if the sequels are any good, but it says receptions are generally negative. So,
Okay.
I don't know. I might, if any of them sound like they're terrible good, I might watch. Like maybe I'll watch 4. Mirror Mirror 3, or Mirror Mirror 4 Reflection. That's from 2000, which was my next idea. Is let me watch one from 2000, because again, inflection between 2 different decades. So maybe I'll watch Mirror Mirror 4 and just skip 2 and 3. It sounds probably.
And try to grasp what's going on.
Well, whatever. It's going to be a haunted mirror. I mean, this isn't a high concept. You know what I mean? I don't think it's going to be that difficult for me to be able to follow it. But like I said, this movie was better than I thought it would be, both because it feels like a alternate Beetlejuice, and I actually think it functions fairly well. It's pretty fast paced. It's a little over 90 minutes. The acting is generally good. The concept isn't bad, and I like the fact that they do a time loop at the end. I was not expecting that. I really was not expecting them to go back and be the original two women. I don't know what I'm supposed to interpret that as.
Yeah, but how does that make any fucking sense?
Well, the woman had said
women?
the woman had said that the one woman in the beginning had started this whole thing. So maybe it's a thing that you just get trapped within the loop of, how the evil started. I don't know. Look, it doesn't have to make sense. It's a demon mirror,
Got it. Okay.
Why is there a demon in a mirror? Why the fuck is a demon hanging out in a mirror? I mean, there are better avenues for possession than this. Surely.
Yeah, you just got trapped.
Or maybe there are mirrors. I was going to say, maybe there are mirrors who like demons. Maybe there are demons who like mirrors. I don't know if that's a classic thing.
Vice versa, yeah.
Well, and it also functions well then if you're going to make it an analogy for teenage kind of angst and self-image problems and trying to fit in. It works as a metaphor too. It's not really a demon in a mirror. It was Megan all along. One of those things. I don't know. It doesn't matter. This is not a movie, again, where logic is a major factor. Honestly, it isn't. It's more of but I have to say, it feels like a better movie than you would think from its time and the budget and its look. It works pretty well.
No, it sounds like they were smart with their money and they tried to make a decent idea. That's why they didn't show you the demon for more than 2 seconds,
Yeah, I have to say, I think this is a notch above a movie of this type from this era. I liked it better than I thought. Now, part of that is because it does seem like it is so heavily influenced by Beetlejuice in terms of where it went. But I also think as a movie, it keeps things simple. It keeps things moving. It works.
It's Beetlejuice and Heathers.
Yeah, pretty much. And
and
there's also
she basically kills the main Heather in the shower.
Right. And the other thing, too, is I do like the fact that as the movie goes on and as she's becoming more powerful, her look changes. She starts to look not necessarily like... She never looks like the popular girls, but she looks like she's not wearing the white makeup anymore. She's not wearing heavy eyeliner. She's not wearing all the big layered black clothing. It starts to become simpler, as if she would eventually turn into one of these mean girls. Which is kind of an interesting idea of, well, if she had stayed using the mirror long enough, would she have become the thing she hated? You know what I mean? If they'd drawn it out more? I don't know if that was what I meant to think, but it makes sense. And there's something interesting to that. And the fact that the only person who really never treated her badly that we see, because even Nikki's boyfriend, he tolerates her, but you always get this sense that he's one step away from being like, don't ever talk to this woman again. He's right on the edge because he's kind of a jock type.
Yeah.
So it's because he actually genuinely cares for Nikki and Nikki is friends with her. That's why he's putting up with her. And so, but then, at one point he's saying stuff about, she's nuts or whatever. So I think the movie's smarter than it would have come off as well. That's why I like it. Like I said, it's interesting as a parallel Beetlejuice idea. Lydia goes to school. Lydia goes to high school. It almost sounds like a stupid sequel they would have made. Beetlejuice 2, Lydia goes to high school.
But was it the Beetlejuice in Hawaii or whatever it is? Or
it goes to Hawaii,
sequel?
Yeah. This is a better sequel, honestly. So like I said, I would recommend it to anybody because it doesn't have, because it's just interesting where it changed from the 80s to the 90s. Because the box art for this, I would never have looked at it twice. It's very boring. Whereas a lot of the stuff earlier in the decade, it's all about like Crime Zone has that great box art, right? That's one of the reasons I watched it, is because it's got this great science fiction box art. This does not have that, but I thought the premise sounded, probably fun. I expected more of the demon. I thought this was going to be, a guy in a demon costume running around, like doing high school murders. And instead, it feels like
it's better when you do it like this. It's more cost effective and it's more scary.
It's more cost effective. It works better, and I think it functions as an allegory better. I don't have any trouble believing that this was okay. How do we convert the terror of being an outcast in high school into something literal? And this is how you do it. where, it's again, you could say there was never a demon at all. This is a kid who had a lot of problems and went crazy.
Well,
except for
the whole time loop thing at the end.
Yeah, and the fact that the demon comes out and laughs at Nikki at one point with giant red eyes. But like I said, a movie I like. I would recommend it. I think it's worth seeing if you're into movies of this type. If you're a horror fan, if it's one that you skipped because it looked boring, as I probably would have, then I would say it's worth watching. It's not. It's not a great movie, but it's a pretty good movie. And I think it's better than its summary and its appearance would make it out to be. So I would recommend it, again, for horror fans. And, that's it. It's in its entirety in at least what I thought was 4 different YouTube channels in pretty good quality. So, yeah, I would say watch it. I actually thought I was going to do 2 reviews because I expected this to be very lightweight. Yeah. I thought, no, this is actually good enough. I'll just make this the only review because I think it's worth talking about, and I think it's a fairly good movie that most people like me probably underestimate.
The whole thing is quite strange. So
I have to admit, I am kind of curious how the sequels function, because this seems like this should never have had a sequel. I think it works very well on its own. So I'll watch the 4th one and I'll let you know if it's any good. I can't imagine it is. But this one's good. So I would say watch this one, and yeah, that's it. That's all I have for reviews this week. So very simple. And on that note, we have nothing else to say. And before the power goes crazy and Lando's laptop explodes in front of him, we will say that
yours is the one that has the CPU that's like through the roof.
Yeah, let's as a show ender, as we close here, where are we at CPU wise? Let's take a quick look. Hold on, it's calculating. I have to admit, for 670%, yes. So on that note, we shall go now before my my CPU melts out of the casing and through the floor like alien blood and ends the show for good. So have a wonderful weekend, and we will talk to you again next week. Visit OzoneNightmare.com to subscribe to new episodes, browse through our back catalog, or to find links to support the show. Follow @OzoneNightmare on Twitter for the latest episode postings and other show information. If 280 characters just isn't enough, you can always email us, theozonenightmare@gmail.com. The opening theme for the show is provided by Heartbeat Hero. The closing theme is provided by Ogre. Please visit and support these artists using the links in the show notes for each episode.